Welcome to this webinar. My name is Fawzi Bawab, and I would like to personally welcome you to this great session, a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I will be taking you through some of the dimensions of this very exciting and powerful methodology called Six Sigma and Lean. So if you allow me just to go through some of the topics that we will plan to cover today, the main question that we would seek to answer is whether the integration of Lean and Six Sigma is something that is proven to have a complementary results, or are we looking at as an oxymoron, which basically provides a contradictory efforts or approaches to the way that we apply Six Sigma and Lean. So the two topics that we would be covering are the Lean and the Six Sigma approaches, and whether they are providing a complementary approach to helping organization. Before we start, let me also provide just a brief introduction about myself. My name is Fawzi Bawab. I'm one of the partners and senior consultant within Merck Training and Consulting. I joined Merck Training and Consulting in 2004, and I'm currently responsible for the portfolio of quality and strategy. Now, Merck provides services in training and consulting and advisory services in the fields of HR, quality, and finance, as well as different fields of soft skills training. My background comes from an engineering background. Civil engineering is my bachelor's, and my master's is in industrial engineering with focus on TQM. Currently, I'm preparing my doctorate in Lean and Six Sigma from Edinburgh Business School at Heriot-Watt University in Scotland. As you can tell, I've been very interested about Lean and Six Sigma, and actually this is why I'm conducting this webinar as well. I've worked with a number of companies before joining Merck in 2004. I used to live and work in Canada, Ottawa, and used to work with a company called KPMG Quality Registration Services, and also a company called BSI, British Standard Institution. I also worked in the quality field with IBM as their quality specialist and manager, and also with a company called Talal Abu Ghazali Consulting Company. My experience over the last 25 years was focused on the quality field improvement, continuous improvement in different capacities, from the quality positioning companies to auditing to consulting and training. As you can tell, the blend of quality and strategy is something that I sort of became interested in the last couple of years, and this is where I brought strategy to the element of quality. I've worked with a number of companies internationally and regionally, including GE, Kraft Canada, the ADNOC Group, Nortel, Arab Bank, and a number of organizations in the region. So the question that we're trying to answer today is basically whether Lean or Six Sigma, which one is better. And we will try to shed some light on the concept of Lean, a little bit on Six Sigma, and see whether we have some common areas where we basically can introduce Lean Six Sigma as a comprehensive methodology for organization to improve their results, and also to actually look at different areas. So if you allow me, let me share with you the agenda for this item. The first thing that we will do is basically to address what is the problem that we are trying to do. And this case, we will look at the Six Sigma history, the background, when did it start, how did it start, what is its focus, and then the other one is basically Lean. Then we will talk about the fusion and the integration of Lean Six Sigma and the history of that fusion. And then we will talk about the benefits of the integration. And then we will talk about the common focus areas and differences that we have. So that is the plan for the webinar. And I would like maybe to start this by asking you a question. And I'm going to run a poll here. So if you allow me, if you can participate, that would be great, so we can look at the results as well. So here is the question. In your opinion, what is better to use in organization? If you have tried any of these methodologies, Have you used Lean on its own? Have you used Six Sigma? Have you used both of them as a comprehensive strategy for improvement? Or maybe some of you haven't used that strategy as well. So if we can get some results here, some companies would maybe prefer to use Lean on its own, and some companies have used both of them. Let's see which is better to use in organizations. So I can see some good results here on the basically combination of Lean Six Sigma, which is great, which basically will help us to answer the question. All right, we'll just give it a quick. All right. So great. All right, so let me try to see if we can do the results. Okay, let me share with you the results. Okay. Okay, do you see the results and voting? Okay. Okay, can you see the results? Okay. So show results, share results. Okay, you see here that you have 22% that are using Lean Six Sigma in combination, which is basically supports our argument in this presentation, where we will present the argument that Lean Six Sigma present a complementary approach rather than a one approach at one time. So let's see why 22% said that Lean Six Sigma is better to use. So I have here something which is very interesting, because I know some of you are already quality professionals. I can identify the names. Probably I've met you before, or you've attended some of my training courses as well. So here is what the nightmare of quality professionals. There are three demons, I might call them. The three demons are what is making our life very difficult in organization. It's presenting challenges for the organization through the customers, through the complaints, through the financial losses. So you can see that the three demons that are presented to us that will actually make the life of quality professionals sometimes very challenging. And this is our job. Our job is basically to go and try to hunt these three demons and try to eliminate them from our processes. So any ideas on who is D1, demon number 1, demon number 2, or demon number 3? And by the way, they all start with a D. So any ideas who are these demons? They start with a D. Something in your processes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Omar. Thank you. And defects. Now, defects is a manufacturing word, isn't it? What about service organization? When you have service organization, what type of defects are we talking about? Are we talking about maybe errors, mistakes? Yes, that is a defect for me. Anything that is not meeting the specification of a process could be a defect. What could be the other demon? Something that starts with a D, that we're very sort of, with the age of technology, we are obsessed now. We want everything super fast. We want everything yesterday, and processes cannot deliver, right? We have a problem. So what do you think the second demon is? All right, let's see who can do. Yes, Omar again. Well, I think Anthony had it before, Omar. So yes, well done. Delays, absolutely. Delays in our processes will cause us problems. And whether you have an SLA, service level agreement, or you have a KPI, well, someone is sometimes not happy with you not meeting, or the process not meeting that KPI. So that is our second demon. What is the third demon that we seek to have in our processes? And we can have a D or a V, by the way. And I remember Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE, one of the supporters of Six Sigma, called it as an evil? Any idea? Something that starts with a D, yes, you can have it as a V as well, but something that if you have it in your processes, it will create problems. What do we seek when we see results and outputs of processes? We seek consistency, right? So 30 should be about, yes, absolutely, variation. And to make it a D, we have deviation, correct? So whenever you have a lack of consistency or deviation, you have a problem. So if your processes are not delivering according to a certain target and you have excessive variation, I mean, it could be as simple as you go to a restaurant and you get a service, you get a taste that you like, and you come back and you try to get that service back or that taste, and you see a variation. Would you be happy? Lack of consistency is something that we seek to actually remove from our processes. And for that, personally, I have two guns. Yes, two guns that I continuously use to actually remove, neutralize these demons in processes. And I'm gonna show you these two guns, but here we go. Here is my favorite, one of my favorite actors. And of course, Clint Eastwood uses here two guns. So we should actually be using two guns. And the two guns I'm referring to when we are attacking processes, right? We are talking about the Six Sigma and Lean. So why would you use Six Sigma and Lean together? Well, let's go back to the history of the fusion that created Six Sigma and Lean. So we can take you here through what we call the development of how these tools and quality in general may be developed. Past in the old days, the manufacturing started with what we call the customization or specialization, which we call craft production. And as we started to move into the industrial production, many organizations, including Toyota, Ford at that time, wanted to have what we call the mass production or assembly line manufacturing. Many of the concepts that were developed by Frederick Taylor under the scientific management and industrial production were brought to Ford's attention, and he started creating what we call the assembly lines. And many consider the background or the precursor of Lean comes from the assembly lines at Ford. And then Toyota started to pick up on these ideas. General Motors as well. One of the general managers was Sloan, who basically came in and started developing the mass production. At that time, many of the concepts of the SPC by Short were coming around. Quality control with Juran, Deming, and the Japanese movement for quality started to emerge. And at that time, the Toyota production system with Taishi Ono and Shingo started to be developed. As you see here, there were some kind of maybe two movements, something focusing on the production and the mass production and making things flow faster so you can get more products out of the door. And in the same time, the quality and doing things right first time, every time was also being developed. The lean phrase or the lean concept was first coined by Womack and Jones in their book, The Machine That Changed the World in the 1990s. And this is where the lean enterprise started to take its shape, although, of course, you can trace it back to the days of Ford and even before that to the Venice Arsenal when they actually used to make and produce ships. At that time, Motorola was very interested to actually address one of their defects in one of their production lines, and this is where Bill Smith at Motorola started to actually formulate the Six Sigma as a problem-solving methodology. Welch, which basically Jack Welch from GE, saw lots of benefit and created the GE infrastructure support system for Six Sigma at that time. Now, this is where Lean and Six Sigma started to see some kind of common or complementary aspect. And this is where the book by George, Lean Six Sigma in Service, started to actually to use the term Lean Six Sigma or Lean Sigma or LSS for short. And this is where the fusion started to actually get the benefits of both the lean concepts and the quality concepts. Now, again, history here a little bit of maybe Six Sigma, as we said, it comes from Motorola, and then many companies started to actually use it effectively, including Lockheed Martin, including Sony, including GE, of course. And this is where many companies saw the benefits. And when we say the benefits, we're talking about financial benefits and also process benefits. Well, to summarize, if you want to just say, what is Six Sigma? I have this really nice slide that can actually summarize the whole thing together. Six Sigma relies on 3 dimensions. It is a methodology led and supported by senior management. It is enabled by the quality team, by the quality team and cascaded to the whole organization. But this methodology, the project methodology in this case, is driven by a customer need, and of course supported by the financial benefit that you have to scope at the beginning of the project. This methodology relies on a structured way of doing things by defining the project elements, including the scope, the problem statement, defining the voice of the customer, and then of course that will take you into the measure stage. The measure stage is basically deciding what to measure, how to measure it. Sampling techniques are all discussed at this stage, type of data, and then of course the data is measured. You have to be aware of any measurement error or any measurement systems. Then you move into the analysis, where the root cause is discussed, and of course the root cause is identified, and hence we can move to the improvement stage, where we can select, identify, and of course evaluate all of the suggestions and the action that came as a result of your analysis. And of course, you can see many tools that would be used in these phases. Of course, your improvement will be followed by control. That's where your demake cycle is closed, and you have to present opportunities to control, sustain the opportunities or the improvement that you have gained as a result of your intervention and countermeasures at improve. And this is where the project is then closed. You have to make sure that the gains or the benefits are sustained, and this is the main benefit of control. The whole methodology is driven by tools. So you can think here of many of these common tools, including histograms, scatter diagrams and regression, process mapping, process variation, control charts, Paretos, all the well-known tools that we use in quality and continuous improvement may be used at different stages of the Six Sigma methodology. So as a summary, it's a very effective methodology because it uses a project development and initiation stages. It follows a very clear methodology, and you cannot move from one step or one stage to another. It has the critical success factors like the support of the top management, the training and the infrastructure in organization to support the deployment. And of course, it is linked to a customer and it is linked to a financial benefit. So you can see all these points that basically can help project or Six Sigma project practitioners to make results or to create and deliver results. So again, just making sure here that Six Sigma is aligned to address a defect or a pain in your processes. It is about addressing non-value activities, and there is a clear link to something that we need to reduce cost or operating cost. And eventually, this will lead to customer retention, customer satisfaction, and more added value, and probably more innovation, where many people now are linking the concept of Six Sigma to innovation and how that can help us. So here is our problem, or here's our approach. We want in a Six Sigma to move or identify a practical problem in our organization. It could be as simple as our finance department is unable to pay suppliers on time, or it could be a production issue where customers are complaining about a certain defect. The practitioners, the Six Sigma belts, whether a green or a black or a master black belt, will transform that into a statistical problem and then work with that statistical problem to find a statistical solution and then validate that and transform it into a practical solution. And now we know that we have to follow the steps of Six Sigma, which basically define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And then we need to talk about lean. But here's a question. Why did they call it Six Sigma? Why did Motorola call it Six Sigma? What was the objective? What was the goal? Is Six Sigma a good process? Is it a good description of a quality in a process? When you say you have a Six Sigma process, what does it mean? Is it good or is it bad? Well, variation is the enemy. And Motorola wanted to actually describe processes when you have a process, which we present maybe by this graph. We call it maybe a histogram, and it's following now in this case something we call the normal distribution. If you can fit 6 standard deviation of this process between the process center and the closest specification limit, then your process is sitting at a Six Sigma capability or a description, i.e., the probability for this process to make defects will be very low. And meaning when you have a process that is generating lesser defects, it means you have a quality in process. So our aim simply in a Six Sigma project is to take an existing process that may have this type of a variation and move it into this type of a process where there is lesser variation. And as you see, the yellow process is actually having a higher sigma level because it will have a lower standard deviation, and hence you can fit more units of the standard deviation between the center and the upper specification. So this is our objective. Move this process, which is suffering from high defects, high variation, into a process that has lower variation, and hence your sigma level will improve, whether it is 2.3 moving to a 4 or to a 5, then you have that improvement. Lean, on the hand, presents an opportunity where we want to actually identify value from the voice or the perspective of the customer. And then we need to identify what we call waste, areas for improvement, or as the Japanese call it, moda, and map the value stream. Once we do that, we can establish the flow of our processes and implement certain techniques such as the pull, which will ensure that we have a speed that is actually balanced between the different stations, and we can identify any areas of concern like inventory or WIP, working in process, and continuously then work to perfection. So as you see, Lean Sigma, I'm sorry, is about addressing the delay in general, right? The 3 demons that we talked about, if you think about it, defects, variation, we can talk about Six Sigma, and then delay, you can think all the time maybe about removing the different types of waste within your processes, i.e. making it faster. So to define lean, or to give it some kind of a statement, lean is a systematic approach, a holistic approach in an organization to identify and eliminate waste or non-value added activities, where we need to focus on the value stream map and remove any activities that are taking time. And once we do that, we can actually identify whether we have errors, waiting, transportation, movement. So what's our objective? Maybe this is my total cycle time. Maybe I need to bring it a little bit lesser. Maybe I could do the whole work. This is what we call the value added work. This is what we call the waste. So I need basically to get rid of this area by maybe doing a lean study. So lean is about removing waste. So you might be wondering, what are these different types of waste? And we have actually a nice acronym that can actually describe these different types of waste. So I'm gonna use right down here maybe. All right. So you have Tim Woods. All right. So all right, I'm trying. So T stands for transportation. Any type of transportation or conveyance you see in your operations is a waste. If you see any inventory or working in process, this could be an indication that you are overproducing and creating maybe inventory in between. If you see excessive motion and movement of people trying to get their tools or trying to get stationery or trying to move around, maybe to go to the printers, and you see excessive movement or motion, here we go, then there's the M. If you see people waiting for systems to be up, system is down, so people have to stop working. If you see waiting because people don't have what they need, they're waiting from other departments for information or material, this is another indication. You could have what we call over processing. So what's over processing? Having extra steps, using more people, using more material than needed. Well, this is over processing. You can think here about overproduction, making more than you need. So again, if you make more than you need, it might end up with waste. And D is about defects. So whenever you make a mistake, whenever you make a problem, then you need rework, you need overtime. And the S has been added as the 8th type of waste, which refers to the staff or underutilization of staff, not using their competence, not using their skills, is indeed a waste. And that opportunity or that percentage can present an amazing opportunity for us, because many people, once they do the value stream mapping and identify the percentages of value added versus non-value added, you can actually see a percentage that might exceed the 90% of what we call the non-value added. And this is indeed amazing opportunity for us as practitioners in quality to use maybe lean and remove the different types of waste. So if you want to bring this in, we can think about lean as having the following, or now Lean Six Sigma. If you think about lean, that is something to reduce waste and streamlining processes and removing fat to make it faster. Six Sigma is about addressing defects and variation by using a structured problem-solving methodology. Then you have a winner. You have a Lean Six Sigma that basically is accelerated, right? And you can think here of it as a combined problem solving between Lean Six Sigma and efficiency and the speed. I see some questions. If you allow me, I'll try to address all of them at the end, if that's okay with you. So again, I'm just saying here, based on my experience, that Lean Six Sigma LSS can be applied in harmony if we consider all the success factors that are needed. The factors include top management. Of course, if you don't have the top management support, if you don't have the buy-in of the staff, if you don't have the competent staff, well, then what, the whole methodology might suffer, and we might have failures as well. So the integration is coming around to present the uniqueness of lean, which is emphasizing the speed and the flow, and then the problem solving and the reduction of Six Sigma together. So I do see a complementary approach. Results in many of the projects that we've been doing. I've personally been training and coaching many of the Six Sigma practitioners at their different belts, and we are using a combination of these tools. So we can say that from practice, from experience, many of these tools are presenting complementary opportunities for us to implement. And to summarize, here is something that indeed there is a unique emphasis in Six Sigma where statistical analysis, maybe advanced statistical analysis like design of experiments can be used, where the speed and the flow and lean concepts can be brought together, and we can get a very advanced or a very methodology put together. So again, I see a complementary approach. You see goals that are very common. You see some differences and uniqueness, and that's fine. But sometimes in a Six Sigma project, we are using some of the lean concepts. And sometimes in a lean event, we need to stop and then sometimes utilize Six Sigma because maybe the processes that we are focusing on are not capable or not stable in our language as quality professionals. So we need to step in and use maybe a Six Sigma approach to treat processes first and then move to the flow. So we can think here that lean focus is cycle time. Six Sigma is about elimination of defects. And then we can think here that once you run a lean Six Sigma, you're using the projects, you're using the goals, you're using the methodology. So you have some complementary impacts as well. I do understand that there is a difference in lean and Six Sigma in terms of the projects. A Kaizen lean event can take anywhere between 3 to 5 days, maybe more than that, maybe a couple of weeks, while Six Sigma projects can last anywhere between 3 to 4 to 6 or 7 months as well. So again, there are some what we call opportunities. So here is lean, here is Six Sigma, quality, waste, emphasis on financial benefits, but we do see an opportunity for them to work together. So here's a very nice, actually, some kind of a slide telling you that when you combine speed and accuracy, you have a much better delivery variation versus waste. So you can think here also of the potential benefits of using it. And I can personally vouch, because we've been doing this, these are actual Merck Lean Six Sigma projects without, sort of getting into the names of the organizations because of confidentiality issues. But a hospital in the UAE succeeded to use the emergency room waiting time by more than 30% and to realize financial benefits of over 17 million dirhams as a yearly income. An oil and gas company in Saudi Arabia reduced current response time by a factor of 33% as a result of using both Lean and Six Sigma. A major airport in the UAE as well looked at their procurement processes and were able to reduce the cycle time for procurement. Pharmaceutical company also were looking at the supply chain, and they were looking at the inbound shipments to Dubai cycle was reduced from 7 weeks to 4 weeks. Amazing results, and all these projects basically provided an opportunity to use the Lean Six Sigma tools and both approaches. So in a nutshell, we're saying demons do exist, and they are our focus as quality professionals. Lean Six Sigma can be a great opportunities if we learn how to use it together, if we learn about Lean and Six Sigma. And I have to say certain critical success factors must be present to actually do them both. And we can actually get results without getting into sometimes even advanced statistics. I've seen some projects using some basic quality tools, and they're getting into decent results. And of course, just emphasizing here again that top management support and buy-in is critical. And indeed, we can show people, and we can show our organization that there is financial benefit, and you can take that to the bank. So I guess I'm ready to answer your questions. I'm trying to squeeze in Lean and Six Sigma in this half an hour or 40 minutes. I know it's a tall order, but you know, I'm ready to take your questions. I've already seen a couple of questions here. Thank you, Omar, for your comment. I see a comment from Omar saying, isn't there an oxymoron between stopping overproduction and seeking to reduce the underutilization of staff? Well, if you, some people I think consider sometimes some of these initiatives are trying to cut staff or fire staff or downsize. So if you stop overproduction, right, then you're basically maybe then optimizing your capacity, and that may result in then getting your staff underutilized. I see your comment here because you're becoming optimized, and then that might reveal issues with overcapacity, or then you have underutilized staff. So again, this is like, you know, the catch-22 sometimes. But then if you have a commitment from the top management saying that this is done not to fire staff, this is not done to actually as a downsizing exercise, can we move some of the staff that is now showing that they're underutilized? Can we use them in other areas where we can utilize their skills? Can we move staff around? This could be an opportunity for us to avoid this issue that, you know, this is done to downsize or fire employees. I also saw maybe another comment from Naji. What about opportunities for improvement? Indeed, I think opportunities for improvement will be revealed once you do the Six Sigma project. At one stage when we're doing the investigation, where we're doing the analysis, opportunities for improvement can be considered. We are considering root causes in our discussion, and we are then suggesting opportunities for improvement that need to be tested, and maybe a pilot should be run to ensure that the results are in before we concluding that they are in. I hope I've answered your comment or got your intent. So did I capture all the questions so far? Okay. Root cause analysis using the fishbone. Yeah, I mean, the fishbone, one of the 7 magnificent tools, I call them. Yes, we can do root cause using the fishbone. You can use quantitative or qualitative tools, but indeed, the fishbone is one of the well-known tools that we can use at the stage of the analysis. Although sometimes if you have enough quantitative data, we can actually start doing root cause analysis or identification of the root causes using maybe statistical tools as well, because yes, the aim is to use root cause analysis at many of these opportunities or continuous improvement. So do we see, you know, a complementary approach? Indeed, we do see that as something that worked very well for organizations. So I do urge and encourage companies to seek to understand both methodologies and maybe combine them together. Okay, can you shed light on how to do approach implementation? Where do you start? By what order of priority on an LSS project? Yes, I mean, we can, maybe we should do another webinar on implementation or the approach implementation, scoping projects, selecting and evaluating projects, looking for opportunities for Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma projects in a company can be considered in different ways. One of the areas that we can look at is basically the voice of the customer. Do we have any feedback, including complaints, surveys, direct feedback? Another one could be the VOB or voice of the business, where we could have our dashboards, balance scorecards, where we're not meeting our targets. Departments can come to you as an internal consultant, as a Six Sigma, and then come and say, I'm not meeting my SLAs, I want to improve on my KPIs. These could be areas on how we can start, where we can improve. And I can tell you, I mean, there's no one single organization that can claim that they do not have problems. Every organization will have some kind of an issue. They could be in their production, they could be in their transactional, they could be in their different support functions. Do you have a system to identify whether a KPI or an SLA, or just go and ask the customers through your surveys, through your complaints? And if you have that type of a system, that would be amazing. Maybe we should actually allocate maybe another webinar just focusing on implementation and how do you scope a project and select a project in Six Sigma. Thank you, Abdullah. All right. Oh, thank you, John. Thank you. I hope this was of a benefit to you, and I hope you will continue working and deploying Six Sigma in your organizations. Personally, I have it as a mission now to get companies to do it, and I continue to train and consult with many companies on the implementation and deployment, and we're seeing millions of dollars in savings in these projects. So I can vouch, I can tell you it does work, given you have the right approach, given you have the right critical success factors in place. Thank you very much for your comments. I think you will be receiving a copy of the webinar slides as well, so you can look at them, you can listen to the webinar whenever you need anything, and feel free to email me at my email. I think it will be sent to you, or I can write it down here for you. Okay, so I'm trying to type. Oops. All right, so I'm trying here. So fbawab@merck.com. So feel free to send me anything or any questions that you need. Saif, is there an international body to certify? So I guess you're talking about individual certification, because we haven't seen yet, it's not like an ISO certification, but it is basically an individual certification. American Society for Quality is one of the well-known certification bodies. Can you hear me? I think I've seen. Okay, and Barak, I'm testing. Okay, everything's fine on audio. And you know, ASQ has a certification. There's also a couple of bodies in the UK that can do individual certification, but always check the body of knowledge, check on the type of course and the curriculum to be covered, whether you're doing the yellow belt or the green belt, because you don't want to go into a 2 days program for a green belt or a black belt, because I can tell you they will not be covering the body of knowledge in 2 days. There is no way. I've just completed this week the ASQ Green Belt Lean Six Sigma, and it's been a very hectic week, 8 till 5 every day, and you could basically hardly finish the body of knowledge in 5 days for a green belt. Some companies do it in 2 weeks. So ASQ could organization that could certify individuals for that, but there are many others as well that are doing that as well. Yes, hi Mbarak, thank you very much, Mbarak, thank you. So any questions, feel free at any time just to email me, and I'll be glad to, you know, respond and call you if you need anything else. I am at your service and wishing you every luck in your deployment of Lean Six Sigma. Great, thank you very much, and we will stay in touch and have a great weekend. Thank you all.
Merck.com